We are coming up to Christmas, which means it is that time of year for me to talk about why masculine men do not want presents from their woman and why emasculated men do want presents and do often get triggered by the idea of them being emasculated if they want presents. This is a really important video because it's going to help you understand so much more masculine and feminine dynamics. It's going to help you see yourself and see, if you're a woman, see how much more your instinct is online, or if it's buried in some kind of way, if it's covered in wounds. And if you have a man, or if you've dated a man or been in a relationship with a man in the past, you'll have a better understanding of what might have gone wrong or what might have been going well, depending on what kind of man he was. But especially if he liked presents, you'll understand a bit more of why the relationship didn't work out for you. And by this, it will actually help you understand a lot more of what you need to shift and what you need to be looking for in a man or inspiring your man to become if you're currently with a man, so that you can have a really healthy relationship where you are receiving from a man, you're receiving his provision, you're receiving his cherishing, and the man is giving to you and he's loving every moment of it. Hello, I am Zach Rohde, and I am here to lead you into creating the relationship of your dreams by learning how to inspire a man into cherishing you, using your feminine energy and what I call feminine communication. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, make sure you do that below, hit the notification bell, and be sure to like this video because I'm going to make sure that it is a good one for you today. All right, let's do some masculine, feminine polarity basics, some 101 for a moment. So, a man's masculine instinct. Every man has a masculine instinct. And that instinct motivates him to lead. He needs to lead. He needs to be the leader. He needs to be seen as the leader. And part of leadership is to provide. It's to provide and protect. He needs to provide, which means he needs to give. Not just stuff, not just money, but he's energetically giving through his leadership. That's what feels good for him, when he is giving and when his leadership, when his gifts are received. A woman's instinct is completely different. It's really the polar opposite. It's a feminine instinct. And the feminine instinct is to receive. It is to follow. It is to submit. Not submit to anyone. Submit to a devoted man who is cherishing you and providing for you. Which means also it's to receive presents. Right? Typically it feels good for a woman. I'm not going to get too much into love languages here. Maybe not at all. You might really love presents and it might mean a lot to you. It might mean a lot less to you, but in general you love to receive from your man. And this is important because if you have a man had a man whose instincts are buried, he might not really just love to give for the sake of giving, right? Like me, for example, I don't want presents from my wife. I don't want presents. They do nothing for me. I mean nothing. It's like I would rather not get them. And it's not because of some wound. It's one, I don't need anything. But two, it just doesn't fill me up to receive from her in that kind of way. I don't need her gifts. What I need as a man is for her to fully receive my gifts that I give her. What do I mean by fully receive? I mean be lit up with joy, ideally. Right? If I give her a Christmas gift, it doesn't have to be a Christmas gift. It could be anything. It could be planning a date. It could be teaching her something, whatever. The more that she is able to receive that by feeling gratitude and showing that gratitude, the more joy that I get out of giving, right? And you can understand this, especially if you have children or if you have nephews or nieces or whatever. If you've ever given Christmas presents to someone, we'll call it like under your care in some way, you get this joy. And you might get it out of giving to a man as well. I'm not saying you don't, but there's something about giving to those under your care where you feel really good, especially when they just light up, right? Like the difference between a little kid being like, oh my God, like I'm so happy I got this Nintendo or I got the whatever toy, and comes up and gives you a big hug, and it's like, wow, that was totally worth the 2 hours of shopping that I spent in that long lineup getting that kid that thing. That's just wonderful, and you feel so good in your body. Do you need anything from that child? Like, do you need any present from them? No. You just needed them to receive your gift. That's what made your day, okay? So energetically, this is the exact same thing with a man. When a man's masculine instinct is online, it's like he feels so good that you received his gift. And he doesn't need you to reciprocate by giving anything back to him as far as like another gift. This is where a lot of women have difficulty because they lack self-worth. Now, this might be triggering for some of you, okay? Just sit with it. Try not to get defensive about it if that comes up in your body. But the more that you feel the need to reciprocate with a man by giving a man a gift back, the lower your feminine self-worth is. So a woman fully in her feminine self-worth knows that just her radiance, her joy, her gratitude, and just being her, being alive, being with this man, it's enough for him. She doesn't need to reciprocate. She doesn't need to show how much she values him by getting him something back. Women who lack that self-worth, they don't recognize how valuable they are and how valuable their energy is. So they feel they have to go into their masculine, go into the giving role to get a man a present so that he can feel good, so he can feel valued in some way. And this is the flip side, right? Because I'm talking about a woman's self-worth. But then here's what gets really tricky. If a man lacks masculine self-worth, he might like presents. He might feel joy getting presents. He might feel like, oh, I'm so valuable, like I'm worthy of my woman because she cared enough to get me a present, right? And this goes into like back into my marriage. Why do I not give a crap about my wife giving me gifts? My masculine self-worth is great. It's through the charts, right? It's quite high. It's not a competition, but like I don't need any presents to know how valuable I am as a man, right? As long as my wife is respecting me, as long as she's following me, as long as she's listening to me, as long as she's using feminine communication with me, I feel fully valued as a man. I feel completely fulfilled. And gifts aren't going to make any difference whatsoever. Even if she wasn't doing that stuff for me, gifts aren't going to do anything for me because my masculine instinct is so much online. But for a man whose instinct is buried, he might enjoy the gifts. And then it gets complicated for a woman because if you're with such a man, it's like you'll feel extra guilty, bad in some kind of way that you're not getting a gift, that it's all one-sided, and you can tell his reaction. And it's like he gets butthurt about it. It's not just because like all people are different. You got to understand this. This is one of the biggest issues that men and women have is understanding. I'm talking about something fundamentally, instinctually wired in all of us. Now, of course, all people are different, but we're not different because we're all, we'll call it like unique and whatever. And I mean, we are unique, of course. But in this context, it's not just because we're all unique and have different personalities and stuff. It's because some of us have more wounds than others. And if a man likes receiving in this way from his woman, then he's got really big wounds. And then if he leads you into enabling his wounds and also enabling your own wounds, then you're not going to heal, right? Do you want the dream relationship where you're being fully cherished? If you do, you can't enable a man's wounds in that way. Sometimes you can't just follow his leadership, even if it's leadership that's like, oh, that seems reasonable, he wants a gift too. Yeah, of course. And women tend to, on the whole, as a gender, want to be peacekeepers and kind of not rock the boat. Not every single woman, but a lot of women, that's more your temperament. You know, you're more agreeable than men. And the more that you're just agreeable in that way and you enable a man's wounds, the longer you're just going to stay stuck. You need to, part of these videos, what I'm doing here is I'm helping you get in touch with your feminine instinct. I'm helping you stop gaslighting that instinct. Stop judging that instinct, that feeling inside of you, that like, oh, it just doesn't feel great. Now, of course, if you really love giving a man Christmas presents, so it is a wound, just so you know, there is a wounding there. It's okay. I mean, don't judge yourself for that, but just be open to that possibility that it actually is stemming from a wound. There's lots of things that you can do that are wound-based behaviors that feel good. But the more that you're aware of it, and especially the more that you watch these videos, the more that you'll start to recognize, wait a minute, there's something else going on. There's an instinct underneath. There's other feelings that I'd kind of been pushing away and not feeling. If you can feel right now, like that this is resonating, like, yeah, like I don't really want to get my man Christmas presents or birthday presents or whatever. Yeah, it's socially accepted and like he kind of wants it, whatever. But yeah, like I guess I don't want to. Well, guess what? You could easily judge that feeling as being selfish, but it's not selfish. That is not stemming from selfishness. That is stemming from your feminine instinct, and that is a good thing. That is okay, right? You're selfish if like you expect all this stuff from a man, like his provision and protection and him being all masculine and stuff, but you're not willing to be a really feminine woman. You're not willing to be respectful. You're not willing to submit to his leadership. You're not willing to use feminine communication with him, right? Revere him as a man. That would be selfish. That would be very one-sided. And there's lots of women like that, right? There's an endless supply of women who actually teach femininity, and they're the most masculine women I know on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and everything. And they're teaching women how to be feminine, but it's like they're actually not teaching women femininity. They're teaching women how to be an empowered boss babe, and they're calling it being feminine, where they're receiving, but receiving more from this place of entitlement and aren't truly respecting and revering a man the way that he needs and the way that will ultimately feel good for you. Because revering a man is not making you less than him in any kind of way. It feels good for you to look up to your man, right? At least once you've worked through all your woundings around it. It feels good. Just like it feels good if you work through your woundings to receive presents from a man and not have to feel like you need to give presents. One way, just before I wrap things up, to illustrate the difference here, is like if you had a 5-year-old child, would you want them to be buying you Christmas presents? No. No, of course you wouldn't. You just want them to receive your presents and not be entitled to it and just be grateful for it, okay? It's the same thing with a man. That doesn't mean you're a child. Okay, it's not about that. It's about you being in the role of being taken care of by a man, just like your children or future children are in that role of being taken care of by you and a man, right, and their father. That's all this is. This is the dynamic. It's man leads, man takes care of, man cherishes, man protects, woman receives, woman respects, woman looks up to. It is a dance. It's a polarized dance. It's like a tango. Man's leading the whole thing every step of the way. Woman is following. And of course, to be a good follower, you have to use feminine communication. You have to wear your heart on your sleeve and be vulnerable. You got to communicate your needs, your feelings, your problems in a respectful way that inspires him into wanting to take care of you. You got to stop enabling his bad behaviors, and you got to get out of your own unhealthy behaviors. But you can have this amazing dream relationship when you learn how to do this, when you learn how to just fully let go, when you shift out of that social, cultural programming matrix that you are stuck in, that everyone's stuck in to one extent or another, because we were raised by imperfect parents. We all were. We all developed these wounds and fears and control patterns, that some of which we're aware of, some of which we're not, but it's causing us to stay stuck, getting less than we want in our love life. You can have a man who is fully taking care of you, who's just lighting up your heart, who's fully protective, who's listening to you, who's caring about all your feelings, who's holding space for you, who's making you feel like the most special woman in the world, an unending honeymoon period every day for the rest of your life that only gets better over time. That's literally what is possible by doing this work. And I got hundreds of clients who are increasingly proving that every single day from doing this work. You want to learn how? I mean, you can do it by yourself. You can take this video and do it by yourself. If you want to get help, if you want to dive into this work, and especially if you want to get real support from me, go below this video, go to the description, open it up, and you will see all my offers with all of the links to my offers. You got my books, you got my masterclass, my 2-hour live event, my masterclass. Really important to go to that if you haven't before. My academy program, where we will help you make all these shifts. We'll practice it with you. We'll teach you everything that you need to know to make these shifts happen as fast as possible. That's thedreamrelationship.com. Masterclass is polaritymasterclass.com. Click a link, get started, start shifting your life, learn how to create the relationship of your dreams, and inspire a man to cherish you.